Hey guys, here I want to show you a build that mainly circles around Heartbound loop. So the idea of this build is that I receive a lot of damage through Heartbound loop, which then procs cast more damage taken and also procs the Molten shell that you see exploding here quite often. So the weapon which is being used is a Trypanon. This always crits, but it's really slow, so the only skill you can use it with is Cyclone. And then here's the Heartbound loop. It creates, it makes damage to me every time a minion dies. So then here we have Custom Critical, Cyclone, Molten Shell, Summon Skeletons, and here for more damage control destruction. So this is why you see skeletons staying around here. Moving around and finding some monsters, you can see skeletons were spawned, several spells procced, and this is mainly how the build works. So it's pretty tanky. I can sustain a lot of damage, which is mainly due to Immortal Call. So whenever Immortal Call is up, I don't receive any physical damage. So this makes a perfect situation for proccing the Molten Shell, since only absorbed damage counts towards, absorbed physical damage counts towards the Molten Shell. Also, I've decided to get Mind Over Matter recently, which increases the tankiness for initial hits pretty much, but keeps my mana low all the time. So this can be changed in the build. You can also go with Blasphemy and apply curses, not with, in this case, Vengeance. So I can explain this also, but you can apply curses also with Blasphemy. Or you just go by Purity of Fire, Ice and so on to increase your max resists and don't need so many items with resists. Okay. Yeah. Oh cool, another Wild Pyramid map. So I'm currently level 33. For the items, well, here's Trypanon. I've already shown this one. Skull's Bridle is not a must-have, but it greatly increases the performance of this build, since it gives some damage, low damage, because this spell does not need too much, or the skill does not need too much mana, and therefore it gives some damage some time to me, but every damage I receive from Skull's Bridle or Heartbound loop procs, for example, these endurance charges, because the Juggernaut has 20% chance to gain endurance charge when you are hit. And for these 20%, every time it procs, there's 25% chance that I do not get just one endurance charge, but all 8. So this is how I proc pretty many endurance charges. I can just spin around and then I have one, and I spin around even more. And now Immortal Call has procced. Now I have again one endurance charge. Now I have 5, no, 3. So, okay. This cascade of proccing things is mainly how this build works. So I get a lot of endurance charges, use them to proc Immortal Call. Immortal Call makes losing skeletons no longer a pain, but still procs this Molten Shell. Also I have cast on Critical on Vengeance, which then summons Flame Golems and casts Flammability. Same goes here, cast on Critical, Flammability, Immortal Call, Vengeance. Also I have here cast more damage taken and Immortal Call, together with Blood Rage, since some Frenzy charges, why not? And also I have in the helmet another cast more damage taken, together with 3 skeletons. So you might think, well, why do you have 3 skeletons and cast more damage taken? It does not make sense, since they cannot proc together. It's true, they cannot proc together, but they all have a separate damage counter. So if one of these spells, or if all together go at 528 damage, you can see here, this is the level for level 1, cast more damage taken. So if they go at 528, only one will proc, but the other 2 remain their damage counter. So even 1 point of damage is enough then to proc the next one. And then the next 1 point of damage is again enough to proc the next skeleton. And we need to proc a lot of skeletons in situations where I don't receive much damage. So Molten Shell can be triggered. Because it's really frustrating if you're whirling around and your main damage skill, which is Molten Shell, does not work. This is just why we want to be able to spawn a lot of skeletons. So this is how you typically play this build. You just whirl around, kill monsters. You don't need to care about anything, which is, I think, the biggest upside of this build. You don't need to time when to cast what, you just cyclone around and everything else is out of problem. All you need to do is drink flasks. Yes, this is the map here. So it has 2 unique bosses, let's see how this works out. But actually it's not a hard map. I will also upload some other videos. These fire explosions are dangerous. So I will also upload some other maps with tougher bosses, the Val Pyramid for example, with all bosses at the same time. So yeah, this is mainly how this build works. What I've not mentioned is the King's Guard. Of course it makes also sense if we just consume these endurance charges all the time. It makes sense to wear an item that gets a big benefit from this. So the 100 life I gain whenever endurance charge is expired is a nice thing, since often a damage wave comes in, Immortal Cold procs, and then it again heals me up, and so this is pretty nice here. Yeah, so the potions are still very shitty. The mana is not used since I have in the skill tree, which looks like this, since I have acquired Mind Over Matter recently. So I have tried this out, and I like it most of all other options that you can do with your mana, because determination is no longer necessary. I played this champion with determination a long time, but then now since I have the 6th ascendancy point, this one here, it's no longer a big problem to keep Immortal Call up enough, so I don't need kept damage reduction to 90%. So if I have endurance charges up, then I think I have 72% damage reduction. If Molten Shell comes in, I get above 80%, so this is pretty nice then, I guess. And well, if Immortal Call procs, then it's of course maxed. But of course it expires. So yeah, I hope you have gotten a glimpse of how this build plays and works. Thanks for watching.